Hi, my name's Vinita Marwaha Madill, and I'm a space engineer and I focus on operations mainly for human spaceflight and robotics. And I've always been interested in space, and I remember being young and in the library and trying to find every book that I could about space. And then one of the books that I was reading, among the images of space shuttle astronauts and NASA missions, I saw an image of a woman with brown hair in a spacesuit, and there was a British flag on the arm of the spacesuit. And the caption next to this image said that this is Helen Sharman and she's the first British astronaut. And I think for me, in that moment, I knew what I wanted to do, and that was to become an astronaut like Helen Sharman. And she really became a role model to me, and she showed me that my dreams are possible. So here is a woman who was born in Sheffield and beat 13,000 applicants to become the first British astronaut. And I was lucky when I was young. My parents and teachers really encouraged me and supported me. My parents took me to the National Space Centre and science museums and really cultivated that interest. And I told my physics teacher in year 7 that I wanted to work in NASA's mission control, and he really supported me and really encouraged me to do that. And then 12 years later, I actually achieved my dreams and worked on International Space Station operations in Germany's answer to mission control in Cologne. So I was really lucky to have had that opportunity. But when I was young, I knew I wanted to be an astronaut, but I didn't know how to do that. And so I printed out the NASA astronaut guidelines and I stuck these inside cover of my secondary school folder. And they said that I needed to have a degree in STEM, so it's science, technology, engineering, and maths. And so I ended up studying physics. And whilst I was studying physics in King's College London, I heard about a fantastic organisation called UK SEDS, and they're the UK Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. And whilst being involved with UK SEDS, I think space really became attainable to me rather than just a dream. So I met space engineers who were working in operations for the first time, and even somebody that I ended up working with later on at the German Aerospace Centre. So I think it's a fantastic organisation to get involved with if you're thinking about a career in the space industry. And as I was going along this journey in space, I realised that there was something more, and so I started a website and platform called Rocket Women, which inspires young women to study space and STEM and consider STEM in their careers. And so the website contains information about scholarships and also educational resources. But also throughout my career, I've been lucky to be inspired by so many amazing women throughout that journey, and I really wanted to create a platform for them to showcase their stories and make sure their voices were being heard. So definitely check that out if you're interested in a career in the space industry. And so I've had the opportunity, luckily, to work at the European Space Agency. I think what's really exciting about the space industry in the next few years is that there's a big push to try and consider lunar missions. And so right now I work at a Canadian space company called Mission Control Space Services on lunar robotic missions, and that's really exciting. I think there's lots of opportunities out there for young people to get involved in the space industry. And in fact, in the next few years, so by 2024, NASA is aiming to head back to the moon, so to land the first woman and the next man on the moon. And they're developing something called the Gateway, and that's a mini space station that's going to be in lunar orbit. And so I think there's lots of opportunities out there for you to get involved in the space industry if that's something that you're interested in doing. And I think that there is such a big impact that you can make with a degree in STEM. So I think you don't have to go into the space industry, but I think it's really important to consider that only 12% of all engineers in the UK are female. And I think we really need that diversity and talent to solve the really hard problems that we have, especially in the world today. So I think it's really important to consider the impact that you can have with a degree in STEM, not only in the space industry, but elsewhere around the world.